Welcome to the Parkrimp difference. This video will help familiarize you with one of the most durable, easy-to-use crimping machines available anywhere. A machine that delivers a precise, tough-gripping metal-to-metal crimp every time. No matter which Parkrimp machine you have, they all have several characteristics in common. First, you don't have to skive the hose, that is, remove its rubber cover, to install a Parkrimp fitting. That's because the metal teeth of the fitting penetrate the hose cover, gripping directly on the hose reinforcement. However, you do need to make sure you're using only the products found in Parker product catalogs when you use a Parkrimp machine. The fittings, for example, are of one-piece construction and specially designed for Parker no-skive hose. Another great feature is the Parkrimp dies. They're unitized, so there are no loose dies to mismatch or install incorrectly, and that makes them easier to handle when you pick them up in a circle. Our dies also have a unique design feature called the Park-Align system. This automatically ensures the proper positioning of the fitting in the dies for a uniform crimp time after time. And finally, you'll see the dies are color-coded according to hose size to avoid confusion and save time during setup. On your crimper, you'll find a decal. Although your decal may look slightly different, they all show which die color corresponds to which hose size. The same decal also indicates which fitting series and die ring or spacer plate to use. Either the die ring or spacer plate goes between the pusher and die set and determines the length of the downstroke and subsequently the crimp diameter. The same decal also shows you proper crimp diameters. You'll also find information about stainless steel fittings. Besides the decal on the machine, you'll find all the information you'll need in the 4400 and 4480 catalogs, as well as the technical manuals included with this machine. For example, that's where you'll find installation information and electrical requirements. Also, information on whether 12-volt, air hydraulic, hand pump, or other power units are available for your particular crimper. When it comes to operating and maintaining your Parkrimp machine, here are 8 simple tips. Number 1. Only use the hose, fitting products, and product combinations shown in Parker catalogs. 2. Keep your dies and die bowl clean. 3. To prevent wear of the die cavity in the base plate, frequently coat it lightly with high-pressure grease. 4. Always cut hose the safe way. Wear safety glasses. Use the adjustable pins on the saw to bend the hose and reduce friction. Make sure the blade is sharp, and don't push the saw handle too hard. Let the blade do the work. 5. Before you crimp, it's important to bottom the hose in the fitting. One way to do this is to put the fitting next to the hose and put a mark on the hose that indicates the insertion depth. Or you can use the hose insertion depth listed in the catalog. If necessary, lightly lubricate the end of the hose and push the hose into the fitting until the end of the shell is even with the mark on the hose. Tip number 6. Always operate your Parkrimp machine with its protective cover in place. 7. Always wear safety glasses when you cut and handle hose and operate crimping equipment. And 8. Become familiar with the safety guide in the Parker 4400 and 4480 hose and fitting catalogs. If you need a copy of the safety guide, call 1-800-C-PARKER and request a copy of Bulletin number 4400B1. In the next section, you'll learn more about your specific Parkrimp machine. And if you notice something a little different, it's because we've specially painted our crimper to help in the demonstration. The crimping machine you're about to see in action is called the Parkrimp 2. The Parkrimp 2 machine will crimp the entire range of hose and fittings shown in the 4400 and 4480 hose and fittings catalogs. This information is also on the decal on the side of your machine. And for machine assembly instructions and electrical requirements, refer to the Parkrimp 2 Assembly and Technical Manual Bulletin 4483-B4. Because the Parkrimp 2 is designed as a do-it-all crimping machine, it comes with several sets of color-coded dies. The dies can handle from 43 series fittings on up to 79 series fittings. Unlike the other dies, the larger dies, because of their greater weight, are in two pieces for convenience in handling. The Parkrimp 2 also comes with an adapter bowl for the smaller dies. To use the larger dies, take the adapter bowl out. You can't make a mistake because the larger sizes won't fit with the bowl, and smaller dies fall through without the bowl. First, choose the type and size of hose you require for your application. Then select the proper series, size, and configuration of the fittings required for each end of the hose. Next, to determine the proper length of the hose, you first need to know the cutoff allowance of your fittings. There are two ways you can do this. One is what you see here, to measure the B dimension of each fitting. The other way is to refer to the 4400 or 4480 hose and fittings catalog using the part number on the shell for identification. Then subtract your cutoff allowances from the desired overall length of your assembly. Let's say, for example, your overall assembly length should be 64 inches. You found that one fitting's cutoff allowance is 1 inch. The other one's allowance is 1.5 inches. So you subtract the total 2.5 inches from the overall 64 inches and see that you must cut your hose to be 61.5 inches in length. The next step is to make sure you bottom the hose in the fitting. And as you remember, that means marking the hose, using a little oil if needed to make the fitting go on easier, and pushing the hose all the way up to the mark. Next, refer to the machine decal to select the right dies. Since this job calls for half-inch hose, the blue dies are the right ones to use. While you're there, also check if the spacer ring or spacer plate is needed. Put the adapter bowl in place. Then drop the dies in the Parkrimp 2 adapter bowl in a way that leaves the gap in front. That makes it easier to remove a bent stem fitting. With the Parkrimp 2, the silver die ring is in two pieces, with the back piece attached to the pusher. Now, insert the front half of the die ring. This makes it easier when you're working with some of the larger size fittings. Now, insert the hose assembly from the bottom. Adjust it so the bottom of the fitting shell rides on the Park-aligned step in the dies. Holding the hose lightly, lower the pusher by pulling the valve handle forward. Wait until the die ring is bottomed on the base. Then push the valve handle toward the rear. The pusher will retract, enabling the die separator to open the dies. Then remove the assembly. It's a good idea to check the crimp diameter for each type and size of crimp. You'll find the diameters on the decal and in the catalogs. And finally, remove any particles in the hose with compressed air and cap if necessary to avoid contamination. For larger assemblies, the process is similar. The difference is that you don't use the adapter bowl. And when you're crimping a bent stem fitting, you put the back half of the die in first, then put the hose assembly in place, then the front half of the die. Lower the back section of the die ring, and then place the front half. The rest of the process is the same. Holding the hose lightly, lower the pusher by pulling the valve handle forward. Wait until the die ring is bottomed on the base, then push the valve handle toward the rear. The pusher will retract, enabling the die spreader to open the dies. Then remove the assembly. And that's the basics of your Parkrimp 2 machine. If you need more information, please refer to your technical manual. Thanks for watching, and enjoy working with the Parkrimp difference.